The Mania has started, and you'll find slam dunk savings and selection during our Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe. We're celebrating our 60th anniversary all year long, and that means buzzer-beating incentives and special dealer offers, like a new 24 Ford Bronco Big Bend Sasquatch, lease for $499 a month. Or a new Ford F-150, now $1,500 or 2.9% APR during this Hoop Mania event at Capitol Ford in Santa Fe.
Play fake by McCamey. Looking downtown. Touchdown! Basket! .47 yards for the score.
Here's what they're in 22 personnel, 2 backs, 2 tight ends. And it's McCamey to basket. That's it. Now watch. Gordon does a pretty good job. He doesn't get his hands on him. He fell that little stutter. I like what he's doing, but he's got to keep his eyes on the receiver. As soon as his head...
2 backs and 2 tight ends. Play fake to Moore. Looking up top for basket. Got him behind his man. Flag down. The catch is good at the 1-yard line. He got him behind Ernest Gordon, but it didn't matter. The basket comes up limping a little bit.
Well, again, this is the only pass they've shown throwing out of this formation, what Ernest Gordon does. Now, he does a better job.
Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
make sure everything's working. How's everybody doing? My name is Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. Took Tuesday off. Appreciate everybody watching tonight. Exciting show for you tonight. 8 o'clock. Associate head coach of the UNM football team, Daniel Da Prato. He's a plethora. He's a ball of energy. I'm excited to talk to him, have him on this show live, and getting him out to our viewership and listenership. Had the pleasure to talk to him right at the end of spring practice. Interesting journey. I'm excited to talk to him tonight one-on-one. I was going to write something on him, and I thought, you know what, we'll just nab him after spring practice, which I guess spring break is, it's May 1st. I can't believe that. 8:30. Usually try to make him a weekly guest during the football season, and given that the draft was last week, at this time last week, Mr. Ned James, the one and only former quarterback for your UNM football team. So I'm excited to talk both those guys. Next week's agenda, definitely back Tuesday and Thursday. I know we have assistant head coach for the men's basketball team, for your UNM men's basketball team, Mike Roberts, not to be confused with the old voice of the Lobos, but Mike Roberts will be joining us. Make sure I better say his name correctly and that it's Mike Roberts and not Robert. I would feel like a major idiot with that. Yep, Mike Roberts. I played for Bobby Knight. So I think that would be a fantastic interview for a UNM men's basketball fan. Hopefully next week, Nick Lorenzen from Mid-Major Madden. Can't talk tonight, as per usual. Nick Lorenzen from Mid-Major Madness will join us. He coached or knew Dayton Albury from Queens College before he transferred to Utah State. So looking forward to that interview, and see what else we can get on tap. And I think Jason X is going to join us next week. So that will probably wrap up our spring football coverage for 2025. So check out our website. Did I mention I'm Ryan Tamori from the Pit Press Live? I need to go get my brain. I need to go get a CAT scan. COVID and well, I never got COVID, but the flu and all the alcohol, my brain is fried. Right before I turn the ripe age of 38 next week. Check out the Pit Press website at the Pit Press NM or the Pit at the Pit Press, the pitpressnm.com, our website. We're trying to do more news daily. Nick Nunez, check out his writing. He has something on NIL buyouts, and he spoke to 505 Sports Venture president, owner, the king of Lobo basketball, Mr. Kurt Roth. That is the Pit Press Plus. It's only $2 a month, $25 for the year. Exclusive content. Check it out. We're trying to push more out. Obviously, a little bit rough towards the end of the academic year here in 2024, 2025. Want to thank Capital Ford Santa Fe. More prepared for the interviews than doing this. Ed Nunez will be also joining me at 8:30 with Ned James. Two things was at UNM baseball this past week. Obviously, they swept NMSU last Tuesday night for the season series, first time in 3 years. So kudos to them. And then I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know anything about, I don't even watch tennis. I've gambled on it. Don't understand it. Not going to sit here and tell you I know anything about UNM men's tennis, but we had efforts some tennis player on for Tuesday night, and we had to cancel the show. I apologize. Congratulations to the UNM men's tennis team. They win the Mountain West Conference. They beat I guess a pretty good ranked. I don't understand the rankings. They've got number 42 and number 6. I don't know how it works, but congratulations to them. They won the Mountain West Conference tournament on Saturday. They will play number 4 ranked Stanford tomorrow night. Go to golobos.com. That's on there. All of that information on how to watch that. It's 2:00 Mountain Time tomorrow. So check that out. But congratulations to them. I also hadn't, not to go back and forth, I hadn't really had the pleasure of covering baseball. I loved it when Ray Birmingham, we're efforting him. He's in Europe. He was going to join us either this week or next week. He will join us when we get back. So look out for that interview as well. Um, was able to go to again baseball. They took 2 of 3 from San Jose State. I don't know. They're a lot of fun to watch. I will throw that out there. They have one more homestand in 2 weeks against, I believe, Air Force. But man, can they hit the ball? Offense is aplenty there at Santa Ana Starfield. They scored 56 runs on 60 hits over the weekend. They run ruled, which is a new thing in college baseball, I think, in the last couple of years. Um, San Jose State on Friday night and Saturday night. I was there Friday night and then did the same thing on Saturday. I was there Sunday in the heat, and you could probably see it on my face. But yeah, they are a fun offense to watch. Will Aspie, the first 3 hitters. What is it? Will Aspie, Ethan Ott, and then their second baseman, whose name is escaping me now. But they are a lot of fun to watch. I would definitely try to make it out to their last series in senior day. I know softball senior day was this past weekend. Hey, feel free to join the conversation on Twitter and X. Again, coming up here in a minute or two. UNM football associate head coach Daniel Da Prato. Interesting journey. He's got some New Mexico connections before he ever ended up at UNM with head coach Jason Eckton, 8:30, former UNM quarterback, the one and only, and a conversation I love to have every time Mr. Ned James, like I said, join the conversation on Twitter and YouTube, and then Ed Nunez will be joining at 8:30. I don't see Ronnie at Lobo Ronnie or Ronnie Ronnie Lucero in the chat yet before Daniel Da Prato joins. Not that we normally do this, but yes, I was very, very ecstatic with the New York Football Giants draft. I haven't been this excited for the Giants in some time. I wanted them to take Abdul Carter. They got it. And then the trade to get Jackson Fart. He's a part of my Fart family with Tyson Dagan Fart, Fart Collins, Fart Worth. Now there's Jackson Fart. Jackson Dart. I was incredibly ecstatic with that pickup. And then Cam Scatabo. If you hadn't watched him prior to that Peach Bowl with ASU, he finished 6th in the Heisman. There was a real case he should have probably been in New York. If you look at his numbers at ASU last year, in a tremendous game against Texas in that Peach Bowl, but he was a lot of fun to watch. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, my fanhood for the New York Giants, even though I try to remain objective, is back a little bit. So normally never talk professional sports on here. I see our first guest has joined, and I'm very, very excited to talk to him. And again, Ned James at 8:30, and Ed Nunez will be joining. And I love these, and I don't use them enough. I appreciate that, Eric. All right. I had the pleasure of meeting this guy a couple weeks ago at UNM spring practice, and I thought he was just worthy of an interview. He's the associate head coach for the New Mexico football team. His name is Daniel Da Prato. Coach Da Prato, thank you. I know I asked you stupid questions that Thursday morning, but I appreciate you for joining us here at the Pipros Live tonight. How are you?
Oh man, I'm doing great and getting better. Ryan, I appreciate you having me on, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've all day been waiting for this, so fired up.
I believe that's a lie, but I appreciate that, and thank you for the meme earlier on Twitter. I've got New Jersey roots. I might be a New Jersey. I'm a New Mexican. Or excuse me, I'm a New Mexican. But thank you for the Bart Scott tweet there. So I queued it up for you.
I like it. I got you.
Can't wait. So thank you very much. All right. More plethora of dumb questions. You're a Northern California guy. You're from Sacramento. And you found yourself in 2000, I believe you had said your dad, you found yourself in, of all places, fabulous Las Vegas, New Mexico. You were a quarterback at Highlands. Can you talk us through and our listeners and our viewers through that process and how you ended up, of all places, at New Mexico Highlands?
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad was he coached football his entire life and was a head coach at Modesto Junior College for 10 years. And the AD at Highlands, he had known from UC Davis prior and had been begging him to come out there. So my dad ended up taking the job in 2000. that was the year I graduated, and ended up going out there and playing for them in the fall of 2000, right up the road there in good old Las Vegas.
I think that's from Sacramento to there, it's quite the journey. And Modesto has one of the best minor league team names ever in the Modesto Nuts. So I'm just going to throw that out there. You ended up also at UL Monroe in 2002 and 2003. Can you talk about that? And I might ask you a question about the Warhawks, because I know their nickname has like a kind of a lineage, but how did you find yourself there?
Yeah, so it ended up not being a good situation for my dad. He ended up going back to Chabot Junior College in the Bay Area in Hayward, California. I went back, played for him. Ended up that made me a 4.24 transfer, so I ended up having to take a whole lot of classes to get out. Played quarterback there, and then transferred to Louisiana Monroe in the spring of 2002. Played there in 2002 and 2003, not as a Warhawk. I was a Louisiana Monroe Indian. At that time. And then I ended up staying and coaching there for 3 years, and we ended up changing names.
I am pretty knowledgeable about college football in this country. I forgot about that and did not know that. That's my bad on that. But
you're good.
They had some awesome helmets last year. I know there's I won't get into it. I know there's a whole ordeal with the Warhawk name, and it's an homage to World War II, and I love that too. That's what my degree from UNM is U.S. history. What I did want to ask you is your coaching career and what it means to you to be a coach now. And I'll ask you about your time at Colorado and USF. But I mean, what does just being a coach to you mean? In being how popular college football is in this country.
Yeah, and I guess the thing I would say is that I've never worked a day in my life. I mean, I get to mentor young kids every single day. And when I grew up, that's all I got to do. In California, there's no scholarship. So my dad was junior college head coach. There's no scholarships in California junior colleges. So everybody's paying their own way. And it's an opportunity to continue playing the great game and then also get opportunities to move on. So that's what I grew up knowing and grew up being around. And when I got done playing, I knew that was something I wanted to get into right away, to be able to help impact other people's lives through the vehicle of football. And I absolutely love it. I enjoy it. There's a lot going on in our game today, and I would say more so now than ever. These young men and women in college athletics need us there to help guide them through the good and the bad. There's a lot of things now in our game that are really, really good, and we can help them change their lives and their families' lives forever. So it's been great, and I love every second of it.
I'm sure you get this all the time, and I know you're not Jason X, so you're not in front of the camera as much as he is nowadays. And I understand this might be a loaded question, but what are your thoughts on NIL and the transfer portal?
I absolutely love it because there's nothing I'm going to do to change it, and I'm all in. I guess the thing I would say is I was at South Florida when it kind of first started. And we were transitioning out of there. We didn't get the job done. We ended up getting let go. I had to deal with it kind of front and center at the end of the 2022 season when the head coach got let go. I was actually the interim, and I got kids coming in like, "Hey, I'm thinking about transferring," and all I'm sitting there to do is try and keep the ship afloat, keep guys having a good experience, and navigating that for about a month was very unique. And then, having some kids I coached have the opportunity to move on and get great opportunities. And shoot, I think of Jimmy Horn this last weekend, who got drafted by the Carolina Panthers out of Colorado, who was someone we coached and ended up moving on because we weren't there anymore. And it's worked out very well for him. But I think it can also be very helpful for the last stop I was at Texas State. We came in and for one reason or another, they just hadn't had a lot of success. And we were able to flip a roster and get some guys in there and create a buzz and go to back-to-back bowl games and win back-to-back bowl games. So I love it. I think it can be a great advantage for us here, and looking forward to taking advantage of it like we already have and continuing to progress through that.
I appreciate that answer, and you stole my thunder from asking about USF and Texas State, but I guess I'll get into that. I know that you were at, and I remember that season very well. I'll start here, 2016 with Colorado. And oh my God, I looked it up. Mike McIntyre. The name kept escaping my mind. Picked last in the division that year. You guys find yourself having a great year. You only have one or two at Michigan. You lose to USC, and you find yourself playing Washington in the Pac at the time. I don't know what you want to call it, Pac-10, Pac-12. I want to talk about that coaching journey. I mean, I think Lobo fans would like to hear that you were a part of that. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that season? Because I remember that was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great things about our game, is that anything can happen, anything. And we were able to catch a little momentum. It was year 4 for Coach McIntyre. That was my first year there, but it was year 4 for him and his staff. And we had a whole bunch of great players that bought into what was going on. And we were able to get a little momentum early. We went on the road and played a great game in Michigan. Fell just a hair short. Quarterback got hurt, put in a backup quarterback. The next week went to Oregon. And I don't even know. I can't remember if Colorado had ever beat Oregon at Oregon. They probably hadn't played there a lot, but I think it was the first time we beat them there. Huge momentum shift, big game for us. Quarterback that came in was a backup, Steven Montez, still playing or was playing professionally for a while, and kind of got rolling and rolled off, I believe, 6 straight and finished the regular season 10-2, I think number 8 in the country, and played for the Pac-12 championship against a Washington team that ended up going to the college football playoff when there was only 4 teams. And we were able to capture something. And I think the best thing about that is we didn't listen to anything on the outside. Nobody gave us a fighting chance. When I took that job, people said, "Are you crazy? They're going to get let go after the year." And that was not the case. So I think that's the great thing about our game, is that anything can happen on any given Saturday. When they put that ball down, it's the game that we love, and it's 2 teams that put their pants on the exact same way and woke up that morning, had pregame and breakfast, and now it's time to roll.
I appreciate that. I remember Steven Montez. I remember watching that team on like a Thursday night. I was like, man, they came out of nowhere. So that's awesome. You found yourself at USF, and more. I know Jeff Scott, the negativity there. I'm not going to ask that question. He gets fired. But you found, and you had mentioned this when I first met you. You had taken over as an interim head coach for 3 games, and you were like, everybody's coming to you, everything. It's different than maybe being a coordinator or associate head coach. You had kind of mentioned that me and Rob Portnoy on that Thursday morning. What is it like being thrown into the fire as an interim head coach?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. You think you're prepared, you're not. But I think the biggest thing is I had some great people around me to be able to help. Chad Morris, who was the reason that I was at South Florida, gave me an opportunity at Arkansas, was actually on our staff. So I had him to be able to lean on. And people like Ken Erickson is the softball coach at South Florida, who has an Olympic gold medal as a softball coach for the Olympics, the Olympic softball team. He walks right down to my office, closes the door, and says, "Hey, be you. Don't do anything different. Be the exact same. That's why you're sitting in this seat now." So I had great people around me, and we had a lot of fun. The kids played hard. We enjoyed the last month together because it changed dramatically after that. And that was kind of the idea that we had, was just, let's just enjoy this time together. But as far as the preparation and the things that are thrown at you, you have no idea until you're sitting in that seat. And I forgot to tell my wife. I had to have Coach Cook, who's here with me now, who was my assistant, who was the special teams coordinator at that time. He had to come in and be like, "Hey, you need to call your wife real quick. She's calling my wife." So you get a lot thrown at you in a hurry. And it was a great experience, though, and I feel like I'm a much better assistant to Coach Eck and to anybody I'll ever work for because of that experience.
I was going to figure the life lesson out of it is being, life hits you fast. I'm a big college football guy. I got to ask about your time at Texas State and what J.G. Kinney did there. It was kind of him and Dion with the transfer portal. And you get somebody like TJ, I'm being stereotypical media guy here. I'm sorry. You're getting, you get somebody like TJ Finley, and who comes in and plays quarterback. And then the kid last year, I think, transferred from James Madison. It put Texas State on the map. Mm-hmm. I guess my question to you was, you went back to, you play 8, you can win 8 games back-to-back years. What was it like to rejuvenate Texas State there?
Unbelievable. I'm here to do the same thing here. It was unbelievable. There was people coming out of the woodwork. So in 2023, our first year, we opened up, we go beat Baylor, and it played really well. Came back, played a phenomenal UTSA team, lost 20-13, and then kind of just worked our way through the season, won a lot of games. And we played in the bowl game at SMU Stadium the day after Christmas. Perfect storm. We had a bunch of fans that were planning on coming. And then what I believe happened is everybody was sitting at home with their families for about a week of Christmas. And then Christmas night, they were like, we got to get out of the house. And they all came to the game the 26th, the day after Christmas. We won the bowl game. The fans rushed the field like a bowl game where they're rushing the field. They drank all the beer, ate all the food. There was nothing no merchandise left in the stadium. Like, that's college football. It was unbelievable. The people coming up to you on the field, thank you so much. This is my kids. And they're just absolutely loving it. And that's what I believe we can do here. We were fortunate to do it 2 years in a row there, and that GJ and that program and that staff, they're going to continue to climb. The trajectory of that university, Don Coryell and President Danfus, they're just going to continue to rise. They're doing a great job there, but that's why I'm here. We've got incredibly loyal and passionate fans that we need to do the same thing, and we can do it right here in our home stadium.
I will now ask you about UNM. I appreciate the blast from the past. We talked to Luke Drizwicki, and I'll ask about, that was a cool moment. You especially being special teams. I didn't even say that. You're special teams coordinator. I'm just cutting you short there. I'm so sorry. We had Luke Drizwicki on last week. He is honored with a scholarship, and some of us in the media were able to talk to him post spring game. And that's normally, I think your name probably is Scott Norwood or Anna Vinatieri when you're talking to somebody, a kicker post game. But I thought Luke was an interesting, I don't want to, lack of a better term, but he was super interesting to talk to. What can you say about him and that moment after the spring game where he received the hammer and then got the scholarship?
Yeah, just an incredible moment for him, for his teammates. You saw obviously the excitement in his face, but his teammates and how fired up they were for him. Guys that have been with him a really long time, to enjoy that moment with them. That's what it's all about. And Luke is a young man that we came in here, and he didn't pick me. Obviously, I picked our great university and got an opportunity to coach him this spring, and he did a tremendous job. He earned everything he got. He kicked very well under pressure and in poor conditions, whatever it may have been. Did everything we asked of him, and Coach Eck rewarded him with a scholarship, and it was an awesome moment. And super excited for him.
He happened to say this. I should have brought up the clip. It would have been better, but I wrote this down. And I'm somebody who lives in the past and present. And when he said it, it kind of resonated with me. He said of you that, quote, how you coach. He said, quote, to be in the moment and that moments never last. I thought that was great. I don't know if you have a reaction to that, but that's what Luke said about your coaching style. And I think kind of, maybe letting things go and just looking to the next play.
Yeah, I think the entire world of football, right? Athletics it's all about the next play. And the moment's not going to last because it's about to change in a hurry, right? The next moment's coming, the next play's coming. And a lot of people think that negatively. They think, well, you got to move on to the next play because the previous one didn't go well. I think those are easy to move on from. It's the ones that went really well. You got to be able to stay right here. If you're super high, everything's good, the next play is coming. So no matter what the previous play was, I say it all the time, man, we're going to learn from the past, live in the present while we plan for the future. We got to be able to do that every single day. And those moments, they don't last. So live in it right now, enjoy. We're going to celebrate every small victory, whatever it may be, but we got to get ready for the next play. And that's just, I think that's awesome. Obviously, he was listening, which is great. I try and have funny sayings that get kids to listen. And when I hear them making fun of me, I know I got them. I know they're listening. So I'll keep going at that.
I appreciate that. And I don't know if you've heard of this book. I'm going to throw it your way. It's by a guy named Scott O'Neill. He was on the Jim. I'm a big Jim Rome guy. He was on the Jim Rome show, and I think he works for the Devils and the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia 76ers. And and I was trying to live in the present, and he has a book called Be Where Your Feet Are. I own it, and I've read like the first chapter, but I read a ton of World War II shit, so I need to move on. But anyway, thought I might throw that your way because I really find that fascinating. I appreciate it, and I need to I normally never do this on this show, but I need to do that in my own life. Can I just get your thoughts on what, other than the stereotypical New Mexico weather where it was nice one moment and then all of a sudden it was, December 1st on the spring game. What did you take away from the spring game, not only from a special teams aspect, but from a team aspect? What did you see that you liked? What did you see that you didn't like?
Yeah, I love to see our kids compete. Our kids love ball. I love to see honestly, the best thing about that for me was what we did before the spring game. That kids clinic and the community coming out and being a part of that and seeing the joy and excitement in our kids. I say our kids, they're 18 to 20, nowadays 23, 24, 25 years old. And to see the joy and excitement in their face as they got to coach kids, I thought was just incredible. That's why we do it. And then to see our kids get fired up because there was butts in the seats, there was fans. That's what we do. And so very excited to see them get juiced up for that. And then also see some guys, play really well. And we want to see that. There's some other guys that got some things to work on. That's part of it. But if I were to take the associate head coach title thing that you mentioned there, but like the 10,000 foot perspective, you don't really want it to go extremely one way in a spring game when you're playing against yourself, or extremely the other way, because then you want it to kind of be balanced. And I kind of felt that's where it was for a lot of the day. But overall, I thought it was awesome from a community standpoint, from our kids coaching other kids standpoint. And then we got out of there pretty healthy, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. Jason, Coach Eck had said that you guys got out of there healthy. I'm a wannabe New Jerseyite, but I'm a New Mexican. I've gone to so many Lobo games in the past. I covered them in college when I was a reporter. And I have to tell you this isn't a question. The enthusiasm is there, and I may have mentioned that to you beforehand. When I rolled in and I saw the amount of people there for the kids clinic, I was like, okay, the tide is turning here. So the
bad weather, the weather was terrible, and they were sitting there waiting for us. It was awesome.
No, that was, I think, the most impressive thing, because sometimes I turn into a fickle New Mexican and I'm like, I want to get out of here because the weather. I purposely wanted to be on the field. So kudos to you guys. I thought that was awesome. And moving back to football, terrible transition, but and I'll ask you again about your enthusiasm and energy, because I do love it. Guys, like, this defense, not to harp on it, it's different, but the defense was not good last year. Play straight to the point. But you had guys like a David Murphy, who thinks from Cleveland. Gabe Lopez came back. Dimitri Johnson came back. I know you've added some pieces in the secondary. I don't think I'm going to harp on the fact that the defense won the game, but the defense, I thought there was a lot of energy on that field. You had to probably, in the coaching staff and the defensive staff, had to have appreciated that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think along the lines of what you're saying, execution fuels emotion. And we were executing on that side of the ball, and it was fueling the emotion that the kids were getting fired up. And yeah, those guys that you mentioned that came back, we want, and these transitions are hard on kids, and those guys stuck in there and they believed in us and performed this spring and had a great spring. Those three guys that you mentioned, we expect very big things out of them coming up this summer, not this fall, because we're not there yet, right? Be where your feet are. So this summer and our summer workouts and as we transition, but the energy, you got to be able to bring it. You got to be able to bottle it, and you got to be able to take it everywhere with you. Every place we go, we got to understand that we'll have some fans. There's no doubt. Our fans travel. Our fans are incredible. But it's about us bottling that energy up and creating our own energy on every sideline that we're on, no matter what it is. And it's great when you have it at home and you can feed off of it. But as great competitors, we got to be able to create it ourselves too in all situations.
So we had a couple of players that found themselves high school in Albuquerque, went to UNM, and then found themselves with Coach Eck at Idaho. And being that they're from New Mexico, and I think Rob Portner, the voice of the Lobos, and I kind of asked you this, it's a different feeling, and it's weird to me because I always use Kentucky, great basketball, football's been and people still, and I know it's the SEC, but what do you guys feel you have to do to get that pit crowd and then some into the Lobo football in University Stadium this year?
Yeah, maybe a trail of snacks from the pit across the parking lot into the stadium. No, I'm just kidding. Everything we've been doing. Coach X, incredible. He's got a great personality. He's out in the community, showing our faces, getting involved in as many things as we can do at any time. I mean, shoot, I'm available anytime. Our entire staff. I mean, I'm sitting in a hotel room on the road recruiting. We're always available. Every little bit helps. And I mean, what we need to do is continue to be involved in the community and give them something to cheer for. I mean, the reason the pit was packed all the time is because they're winning. So I never, ever see that as a negative. When we would go to basketball games and take recruits, I mean, we're going to schedule recruiting around home basketball games because it's incredible to see that. But I see that as a massive positive. It's there. If they can park in the same parking lot and walk and turn, instead of turning left, turn right, well, get them over there. They'll be there. There was fans at 6 a.m. on the spring game when I pulled up to park. There was 3 fans sitting out there. It was awesome. So I see that as a massive positive, not anything different than that.
No, I appreciate that answer. And now I'd like to ask you about, you mentioned his enthusiasm. What lured you here because of Jason Eck?
And I apologize. It just stream broke up right there. Repeat the question for me.
I'm sorry about that. I'm asking you about Jason Eck. What lured you here to coach with New Mexico? Why here? Why his staff?
Yeah, him. So he and I have been friends for about 10 years. And I just love everything about what he does, how he carries himself. We're very good friends with their family. And just the opportunity to be here. New Mexico, I've been to New Mexico. It's special. I've flown in that Albuquerque a bunch. And then talking with him about Fernando Lovo and his vision and their time that they spent together prior to him taking this job. So he and I had a lot of conversations about it. I mean, obviously he was in the middle of a playoff run going through this process. Couldn't talk to his staff a lot about it because obviously they were involved in what they were doing. So had a lot of conversations and just how he treats the players on a daily basis in today's day and age of college football and pushing them to be excellent and striving to be great in everything we do every single day and in maintaining the discipline within the program and how he treats our coaches and just everything about him. Been great friends with him. Obviously he's my boss and I work for him and I'm going to do everything the exact way that he wants it. But I think Albuquerque and in New Mexico and being just the flagship university in this state is incredible and just couldn't be more excited about it. The Lobo, I mean, come on, man, the Lobo brand, the Lobo is nationwide and we're only going to continue to help that rise.
Before I let you go, because I'm looking at your shirt, I hope you guys do away with the shield and put either the UNM logo, the font, or put that logo on the helmet, and then I'll love you guys even more. Not that matters. Not that my opinion matters, but I think to see that on the helmet would matter, or I would love it.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest on this one. My opinion doesn't matter on that either. I'm going to make sure I got guys running into the end zone on our team with whatever logos on their helmet and making sure we hit the guys on the other team no matter what logos on their helmet either. But I do believe you look good, you feel good, you play good, you look good, you feel good, you coach good. So I love everything about our brand and what we're doing with it.
I appreciate that answer. Your presence, and I know I asked you that this morning, but your presence on Twitter and then the coaching staff and Coach Eck, I mean, I was a print journalist and I was like, man, the hell expletive Twitter kind of ruined what I was pursuing. But I shouldn't be saying that because I'm not nearly a grumpy old man, but you approach it and I love that you're on it every day. Just can you tell our listeners and viewers why you approach Twitter like that every day? Because you kind of told me that everybody sees it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps. I think it helps in recruiting. I think it helps with the fans. I think it helps. We're looking for any way to muster up some excitement about the program. I think Coach Eck's phenomenal at it, and that works right down to the rest of our staff. And again, I think it helps. It gets fans kind of an inside look at kind of who we are as people. Obviously, they get to see us as coaches, but I'm very passionate about being a father. I'm very passionate about being a girl dad and my little ones that I get to be with. And I love showing them off. And when we're out having a good time, we don't get a lot of time together, but the times we do, I promise you, we have a blast. And we're enjoying every little bit of New Mexico and Albuquerque and traveling around and that zoo better get ready because we've been there so many times already. So no, it's great. I think it helps, and it allows people to see into your life a little bit as a coach and as a mentor, and same with the players.
No, I appreciate that answer because now I'm trying to be more active on Twitter, especially owning this company. But anyway, not helping myself what can Lobo fans expect and alumni expect from this football team? I know it's May 1st, but what can Lobo fans expect in the fall?
Yeah, no, I got to give a quick one here. So you talked about Twitter and helping. It helps with recruits and fans that are out there listening. And we've got some great ones. And I appreciate you. And when we're recruiting a kid and a kid's coming on campus and kids are seeing it and you guys are reaching out to them and loving them up, that goes a long ways. I mean, a long ways. So I appreciate y'all. Keep it up. What to expect from the Lobos? An incredibly energetic, hard-nosed, physical football team that is exciting to watch and is going to be all over the field, but also a very efficient team that's going to operate the correct way. We want to minimize penalties. We want to minimize things that can hurt us. It's hard enough to get every inch in this game. We can't be giving them away. We want to take away the football and then obviously protect it as much as possible. So, I mean, obviously the simple answer is, we're going to outscore the opponent, but we're going to do it in a way that we're going to be efficient in everything we do. And that comes from the top down. Coach Eck's really good at that. He's phenomenal at managing games. He did that at Idaho. And in the way that you go for it on fourth down, then you don't go for it and you protect the ball, whether you got to run a fake, whatever it may be, being aggressive on defense with Coach Spence and his style. But expect a team that's going to go out there and put a great product on the field that fans are going to enjoy watching every single Saturday.
He is the special teams coordinator and associate head coach for your UNM football team. His name's Daniel Da Prato. Coach, it's been a real pleasure. I thank you for taking time on a Thursday night on the road to join us here. I've gotten to talk to you twice. And I've really appreciated it. I don't know how else to say that, but it's much appreciated. And I have other guys that join me on the show. They couldn't join tonight. But I was kind of like, this guy's awesome to talk to. And then Frank, and then somebody else, I believe Sean Ryder at the Journal was like, he's got to know me a little bit. He's like, I think you're going to enjoy talking to Coach Da Prato. So I can't thank you enough. I seriously can't.
Well, I appreciate y'all. I'm darn proud to represent this great logo and great university and great state every single day. And just thank all the fans and everybody listening. Just appreciate y'all's support and keep following us because it's going to be a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Hey, safe travels recruiting and safe travels back to Albuquerque. You have a great weekend.
Appreciate it. Go Lobos. Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it. All right. That was Daniel Da Prato, your associate head coach for the UNM football team. I don't know. I love talking to him. I appreciate his time. So hopefully again next week we'll have Jason Eck on. I'm sure he was tired of me saying that name, but I don't know. I thought it was good for our viewers and viewers and listeners and everybody to talk to hear him and not Jason Eck. Compared to what the staff was last year, where it was, I always make the joke they were invading Normandy or had plans to the Death Star. Nobody know who, what, when, where, why, and then they go 5-7. So. I was talking to Ben Wysong, a lot of love there. Ben, I don't know, what I can and can't say on the record, but I know there's a lot of love there. So I hope that's a good thing. But I thought he was awesome. Super, super happy to have him on again. Going to take a quick commercial break. Ed Nunez and Mr. Ned James joining me after the commercial break. Talk some NFL draft and get Ned James' opinion because I do love it. So my name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook! I said let him cook!
I'll hit you with the triple hey again. My name's Ryan Tamori. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. I want to thank Frank Mercogliano at UNM for Daniel Da Prato, associate head coach over at UNM. He was awesome to talk to. Now joining the show, the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970, Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
Good interview. I watched Coach Da Prato, and I kind of wanted to hear what he said. You know, he's the associate head coach, and I got to say, you and I talked about this. There's a different approach from this staff than there was to Coach Mendenhall. Coach Mendenhall, you know, lock practices. He's not a media guy. He's not. That's obvious. He didn't make any of his assistants available. So I think you're seeing the difference right away in what Coach Eck is trying to do here. And again, though, remember what I said, and we said this to Matthias and Ben Bertram. Being a good guy doesn't win you football games. We said that, but there's at least some enthusiasm about what they're saying, and you know they're saying come out and watch us. They're being open. Yeah, and the associate head coach on here. You've had Coach Eck on. You're thinking you might get him again next week. We didn't come close to landing an interview with Bronco. He didn't want to interview. That's not his style. He coached, but remember what we said. And I don't want to go off too much on a tangent here, but you needed someone to sell the program. We know he could coach football, but he never wanted to sell the program. Coach Mendenhall didn't. And you already seen that Coach Eck is trying to make that effort and getting out in the community and saying the right things and telling people, come out to the stadium. It's going to be exciting. So I enjoyed the interview.
No, I thought it was awesome, and I don't know. Maybe we'll ask Ned if he's had the pleasure of meeting him. But our next guest, he's the one and only, a quarterback for the UNM football team from 1985 to 1986. Coached in the NFL, coached, I believe, the Titans in the 2002 AFC title game against the Raiders, and is now a analyst for Your Lobo Radio Network with JJ Buck before UNM football games, halftime and post game. It's definitely one of my favorite conversations of all time, Mr. Ned James. Ned, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, guys. Good. Yeah, Coach Prato, he's pretty good guy, man. I had a chance. He's probably one of the first assistant coaches I met because I think he was one of the first hires. So got a chance to talk to him a couple times. Really a good guy. So I'm glad you guys were able to get to him and talk to him a little bit.
No, he was awesome to talk to, and obviously, as I always do, I'll send this to you after Ned, and you can get his thoughts, and you can make fun of me for how terrible I'm a media guy and how terrible I ask questions. All right.
No, you're great.
I appreciate that. As are you. I will start here with the NFL draft. I know we normally don't talk the pros, but it's college guys getting drafted, and then I'll throw Ed there because I think you have a lot of opinions, and then I don't know. I just love listening to you talk because you're a knowledgeable guy. I will start here with the I almost said Los Angeles Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, number 6 overall. They take Ashton Jeanty, phenomenal running back from Boise State. What did you think of that pick, and how can he help the Raiders?
Well, they're obviously with a defensive coach, they're going to run the ball. I mean, they're going to protect Geno Smith at quarterback. They're not going to give him too much. They're pretty conservative, even in their defensive style. They really shut down the run, force you to pass, and they want to see, if you can hit those tight windows on pass plays. And so that's pretty older coaches are typically that way. A lot of the veteran guys that are in the NFL, they're run first guys anyway. So what better way to start with than the guy who's the runner up for the Heisman, Ashton Jeanty, who really kind of came onto the scene last year and then, just really excelled this year as well. But I think he'll be good for them. The pick is, it's a need pick. And a lot of times, you have to consider your needs over, who's the best possible player at that pick. And a lot of people don't get that sometimes. But, like you said, this, it's a draft. It's, the guys have played great in college, but now you're into the big leagues. Now you're with the pros. And so you just don't know how these guys are going to pan out. It seems like a great pick right now. He's a shorter guy, not as big a guy, but, we'll see.
Do you think that with Pete Carroll, I'll bring up, we're going to talk about the Giants a lot here, but being that I'm a New York Football Giants fan, I loved Antonio Pierce. He was the middle linebacker, kind of the quarterback of that 2007 Giants team. So I was partial to him. And I think when the Raiders are good, it's better for the NFL. That's just my opinion. But do you think Pete Carroll is going to turn things around there?
Sure. Yeah. When you have a guy who's been in the business as long as he has, I mean, he kind of knows, where the mouse traps are. I mean, he kind of knows where, the landmines are around. So he doesn't really have to, kind of speculate on who's coming after whatever. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows how to get it done. He's going to do it his way. And if he's not being allowed to do things the way he thinks it should be done, you're going to hear about it from him. He's 73 years old or something like that. And so he's, he knows exactly, the urgency to get things done and how to get them done and, how to handle that 53-man roster. And that's what he's going to do. And I think, that was a good choice on their part. I mean, your coaches now are coaching later and later in life. And so we'll see what happens. I think, like you said, the NFL is good when the Raiders are winning. So we'll see if Pete can turn around. It's a tough division that he's in. So I mean, we'll see because you got Kansas City, Denver, San Diego. I mean, not San Diego, but the LA Chargers, and so that's tough sledding. So he's going to be challenged. So we'll see.
All right, now I will move on to the New York Football Giants. I had wanted Abdul Carter forever at number 3, and it's kind of rejuvenated my fanhood, even though I'm getting older and I don't really care. I personally like the Jackson Dart trade up, and then blew my mind for somebody who I'd loved all of college football season last year, Cam Scatabo. I loved Ashton Jeanty. Cam Scatabo was a dude, and I kind of fell in love with that ASU team. Can I ask your assessment of the Giants draft and what you think about Jackson Dart? Because I kind of heard what I read was that Lane Kiffin's offense doesn't really translate to the pros. But I'm going to use my history degree, and that history repeats itself. The Giants took one Ole Miss quarterback about 20 years ago, and it worked out all right. But I want your assessment on I think the Jackson Dart pick and then what the Giants did, because I personally thought it was a pretty good draft. And I'm usually the New Yorker, New Jersey, it comes out in me and I take a big fat dump on them. But your thoughts?
No, the draft is interesting, and just until you said it, I didn't realize the Ole Miss thing with Eli Manning and that hook. But I know with the USC, I remember I'm a big time recruit coming into USC on the West Coast and then transferring and that sort of thing. Because Kiffin was at USC and he kind of knew that they kind of get top tier quarterbacks. So it was a good coup for him in getting Jackson Dart and trading up to pick Jackson Dart. Apparently, they had a bad interview with Shedeur Sanders. So, and that's one of the most fascinating stories there is in the history of college football. I don't think a guy has ever been a top 10 prospect and fell all the way to the 5th round based on his interview skills or his I guess his behavior, he hadn't gotten in any trouble or hadn't done anything to warrant dropping, other than they're saying that he didn't test well. I mean, he didn't interview well. So I just thought trading up to get this Jackson Dart, you don't know. I mean, a lot of prognosticators said he didn't, he wasn't really a first round quarterback, but he got drafted in the first round, so that makes him a first round quarterback. So, and Abdullah, he's a great player, phenomenal college player. The medical check, he needs surgery on a foot. It's tough with big guys with feet and surgeries, but they think he's going to be okay. So we'll see. I mean, the draft is really wonky. You just don't know until you get guys through the preseason and get them, going into the regular season before, you really see, their talent. But, those top 10 picks are typically pretty spot on, and guys are pretty ready to kind of get into the NFL swing of things because it's a leap from going from college into the NFL. So we'll have to wait and see with the draft picks. And, the Cam Scatterboo, he's kind of a little bit of a caricature, that Cam Scatterboo running back, because he's a little bitty guy. I mean, you got to block grown men in the NFL on blitzes. And, he was a heck of a runner. He's a little bowling ball, a bunch of knives. And, he played at Arizona State. I got some buddies who went to Arizona State. They just couldn't stop talking about him all year. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see if he's going to, be able to, handle the NFL game. It's a little bit different than the college game. And so he was, he's a 3rd round pick. So, those guys typically, some of them make the team, some of them don't make the team. So we'll see what happens with them. Some of them go on the practice squad. But the interesting thing with this draft, I thought, it didn't seem like they were that great of players because, the fall of Shedeur Sanders kind of told the story a little bit, but especially with the quarterbacks, that there really wasn't, these guys that the NFL guys felt were, can't miss prospects at that position. And so it kind of tainted the other positions a little bit and wasn't really a big time receiver, maybe. Then they're drafting offensive linemen. So, we'll see. This draft is one of those drafts where, come the regular season, the first quarter of the season, you're going to see if these guys are playing and, what they have to give.
I appreciate that answer. I've always kind of thought the draft is overrated. Obviously, you do need to pick up younger players. I mean, that's how it happens, and you advance and you get promoted in life. I understand that, but it's something for me to get together with my friends and yell at the TV. So I do appreciate that. All right, I will now ask you about Shedeur.
And you know what else? One other thing about the NFL and the draft, it just goes to show you that the NFL, they should rename the NFL the Treasury Department, because the NFL just prints money. Because I mean, to get that many people to watch the first round, then the Shedeur Sanders drama, and to get that many people to watch the second day, and then get 250,000 people to come and show up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, of all places, in the middle of nowhere, and then on the third day have people watch because the guy still had. I mean, you can't make TV better than that. I mean, they're taking over the TV on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So it was just, the NFL just does a great job with that. I mean, you just got to give it to them for making it the spectacle that they've made it.
No, I appreciate that, Ned. I do. And now I'm going to start calling it the Treasury Department. So I got to watch the Treasury Department on Sundays in the fall. All right. I will ask you about Shedeur. I want your thoughts because I truly appreciate your insight and opinion. You've done it. You've coached at the highest level. I saw Dan Orlovsky say he makes great throws. I've read from scouts that he not some reviews of him that he's not. He was an undrafted free agent. Mel Kiper Jr. went ballistic on Reese Davis. So I ask you, Ned James, should he have been a top, just not a first round draft pick, but a top 10 draft pick, a top 5 draft pick, or was the fall warranted?
Well, you always wonder why a guy drops that far down. I mean, I don't really think teams really particularly saw him the way most people saw him. I think people saw him, hey, maybe he's a guy, second, third. They typically don't pick him in the second, but I thought he would be able to get picked up in the third round. But then the word came out that, the interview and the whole legacy thing and the gold chains and coming unprepared to his visits, what do they call that? Those interviews. He said he was really unprepared with the interviews, which he should not be. Number one, the guy's private school guy. Dad's a multimillionaire. He's got multi-millions. There should have been no way he was unprepared for anything that came at him. And so from that standpoint, I could understand him dropping a little bit. I just think the 5th round was a little much. And, from my sources, I heard that it wasn't even, they didn't want to pick him. I mean, they picked the quarterback in the 3rd round, but I hear, there's analytics involved. And I was in Cleveland, and they do a lot of what is the guy's name? DePesto or DePasto or DeSpato or something like that. He's the analytics guy in Cleveland, and so they're really big, and Haslam's big on that. I heard that he went in there and made him pick Shador, that kind of stuff. So you never know what comes about. But the young man got picked up, and it doesn't matter what round you get drafted in. I mean, you're still gonna have to try to make the team. It's gonna be tough. Somebody's gonna get traded. Flacco and Pickett are there, and they drafted that Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. That says something when they draft a guy in the 3rd round. So, and that's where I thought he probably should have slotted. But those things happen if things come out about you, and it makes teams kind of want. The thing with him though, and I think it's a little unfair that people are taking shots at, the collusion angle. You don't want a Hollywood quarterback. That's a Bill Parcells thing, and I kind of really understand what he's talking about. You don't want your quarterback thinking he's better than everybody else. You can't have a guy like that. They're already the worst athlete on the team next to the kicker and the punter, and they make the most money. Now I know you're thinking, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, those guys run around guys. Yeah, those are exceptions, but most quarterbacks are big stiffs in the pocket like Jared Goff and Tom Brady and Manning and those guys, and they make the most money. So you need some humility there. And so this whole new age wave. And it's our fault. It's not your fault, Ryan. You're a young guy. It's us old fogies, man. We're just not used to all this bravado from young people. It scares us, old people. And so that's why I think, a lot of it, kind of cultural. It may have fallen on some racial lines as well. But, the guy, your talent has to supersede your mouth. Your daddy, he could do those things, but you can't. You're the quarterback, and it rings differently. And I know people compared it to Manziel and Baker Mayfield, and they were kind of braggadocious, and they were drafted in the 1st round. But maybe they're a little bit more talented than you were. I don't know what the answer is. I think the young man fell. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, he's still getting an opportunity, and he's just got to take advantage of that.
I appreciate that answer, Ned. Ed, throwing it your way.
Ned, I think Ryan's right. Mel Kiper went nuts. He went nuts, and he's been covering the NFL draft for years. Said he had him as the 3rd best quarterback on his board. And you mentioned some other things about the interviews, and maybe it was the entourage he comes with too. Dion is one thing. Dion back in the day, I read a lot about him when he played for the Cowboys and the 49ers and the Falcons. He was so gifted, he didn't really, hit the weights that hard. He just had that natural ability. And Shador Sanders, they said, he's got talent. There's no question about it. They wouldn't have listed him on the board the way they did if they didn't feel, that he was worthy of being a, top 3 or top first 3 rounds. And as it went on and on, I was like, okay, 5th round. I was telling my wife, I was like, God, I got to see this. This is on Saturday, and he still hadn't been picked. Now, on the other hand, Ned, they picked, Cleveland. Now, he got picked by Cleveland, and Cleveland, how many quarterbacks have they gone through? Deshaun Watson will probably not play there ever again. He's probably, he tore his Achilles. He's facing some more issues. They drafted Gabriel over there. I think it's a perfect opportunity here for him to seize that starting position there. It's a tough place to play, Dad. You know that. You always talk about guys but what kind of opportunity do you see for him there?
Well, he'll get an opportunity. I just think the whole thing with the cruel prank by Jeff Ulbricht's kid. The Ole Miss thing I thought was really bad because the Ole Miss kid. People keep saying it was Jackson Ulbrich. It wasn't Jackson Ulbrich. It was his buddies. His buddies were doing it. He gave him the phone number. He's sitting over in the corner like a little, a little wannabe trying to be cool with the kids. And then another guy's filming it, and that guy got paid for it. He paid that news agency. That's why it got sent out. So there's a lot to that whole thing with Shedeur. He handled it with class. He and Dion both handled it with class. The issue of him dropping and where he went in the draft, that's to be determined. If he goes in there and he lights it up, then everybody's going to say, hey, look, the NFL, you guys missed out on a top one. But you guys know me, and you know what I always say about football, and that's why I don't talk about offense or quarterbacks that much. Is offense is how you sell tickets. Defense is how you win games, and special teams is how you win championships. And I've been saying that since the first time. So I think the quarterbacks get way too much credit when you win and way too much blame when you lose. And so people want a little bit of humility in that room, and especially when you're making that kind of money as the highest paid guy on the team. And the fact that he came in and he wasn't, I'm going to change your culture. I'm going to, you got to shut up when you're the quarterback. I've done those interviews with quarterbacks. And there were guys that I thought were just jerks that got drafted in the first round that played 2-3 years and they're out of the league. And I would say to myself, this guy ain't going to last in this league because no one cares that you have money. No one in that locker room cares that you're the highest paid guy or you're rich or you're legendary or you got gold chains because they all got gold chains and they're all rich. And so you have to bring something else to the table that they like. And this is a new generation. Maybe it's time for us old guys to step aside, Ed. I don't know. Maybe this is just a new way. This whole talking your way up and the social media and how many Instagram followers you have and all that nonsense. Maybe that's the way. I don't think it is. And guys that are like me are the ones that are working in the NFL, and they say the same thing. So I think Shedeur didn't help himself a lot with a lot of the language. People are, taking sides. It's really polarized. A lot of people, but it made the NFL a ton of money. However you want to slice it, it made the NFL even more popular. And his jersey is the number one selling rookie jersey already. And he was a 5th round pick. So there you have it. That's the NFL. That's the new Treasury Department, man. They just print money at the NFL because they're still the most popular sport. And this is the reason why this whole, and I guess Dion was the first guy to be the Flash guy. Now his son, the Flash Jr., he doesn't get picked, but he gets picked in the 5th round. So we'll see what happens.
He's making pretty good money, with the NIL at Colorado. I got to ask you a couple more follow-up questions. Did you think they jumped the gun at Colorado by retiring Shedeur and Travis Hunter's number, after they just played? Usually you wait 10 years, and maybe you're right, Ned. For older guys like us, we're used to waiting and, seeing time go by, and then they come back and they retire the numbers. But they did it right. They did it. What was your opinion on that?
As the younger guy here, I would just like to say I'm okay with the Travis Hunter thing, but yeah, it was a bit premature. I'm sorry to interject there. Go ahead.
That's right.
No,
what do you think of that?
You were okay with them. So Ryan, you were okay with them retiring Travis's number, but just not Shedeur's number.
I was okay with Travis Hunter. And again, he was hurt a lot in 2023, but I think
no. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, you're okay with them retiring his number.
I'm okay.
He even graduated from school.
Yeah, I guess I understand. Okay. There's onion.
Ed was saying that we're old guys. We're used to guys coming back 20 years later. And you said as a young guy, you're okay with Travis. You just didn't like Shedeur because he didn't do enough.
I don't think Shador did enough there. I think Travis Hunter winning the Heisman,
Okay.
it's the
Now, I'm going to
Heisman
give
that
you my
warranted.
take. Okay.
Go ahead.
I get where you're coming from now. I'm going to give you my take. Okay. And here's the issue. All these guys that have their jerseys retired that played in the 1940s and 50s and 30s, we need to unretire their numbers. Now, there's a difference, okay, and this is what people don't understand. There's a difference between a retired number and a jersey that's in the stadium. Like they got Terrence Mathis, they've got Dontrell Moore, they've got all these other guys up there. There's really only 3 retired jerseys at University of New Mexico. And one of them, for the first time in the history of the school, got pulled off and put on a player by Danny Gonzalez, which had never been done before, and that was Urlacher. Because the only numbers are Bobby Santiago, Don Perkins, and Brian Urlacher. Those are the only officially retired numbers at UNM. Those other numbers you see up there in the stadium, they're not retired numbers. They're just numbers in the stadium. And so here's where I'm going with this. All these guys that have these retired numbers, okay, what's the criteria? I mean, who determines? Because these athletic departments turn over so much, and I found out, and this is what I'm finding out: the guys who have money donated, those are the guys who get their numbers retired. If somebody donates enough money, they can get a jersey retired. Now, if you don't donate money, you don't get your number retired. Now, people think, oh, no, that's not true. Oh, it is. It's very much true. And so there's this whole thing, this idea, and this concept. And this is why there wasn't very much pushback on Deion for retiring his son. Even though Deion Figures is the greatest safety that's ever played, their first-round draft pick of the Steelers, consensus All-American, Jim Thorpe Award winner at Colorado, out of Gardena, California. And, the guy was one of the greatest safeties to ever play. And he's number 2. But yet Shador's number is the number 2 they retired. So, and his number hadn't been retired. He played on a national championship team at Colorado. So here's the thing. These guys are saying, hey, it's too early. It's too well. When is it time? And who determines who gets up on there? Who determines whether Terrence Mathis, who's the first consensus All-American in the history of the University of New Mexico, yet Urlacher's number is retired and Terrence isn't. Terrence Mathis, set more records than Urlacher did, but yet Urlacher's number is retired. And it was because someone paid. I talked to the athletic director. Someone paid for Urlacher to have his number retired. And so that's the dilemma you get into. And I'm talking from Alabama, Texas, USC, Notre Dame, Michigan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these universities with these retired numbers, you need to take a look at them. Lawrence Taylor's number is not retired at North Carolina. But Billy Bob Smith and Johnson Jackson from 1940 and 1950, their numbers are retired. So you have to be careful with that. Do we pull all the numbers of the guys who had their jerseys retired from the 1940s and 50s and say, hey, those guys' numbers are scrapped. We can use those now. We're going to start over again with these retired jersey numbers. So it's really kind of a tricky deal. Then you have the Deep South with the segregation stuff, and a lot of those numbers, those LSU numbers, the guys you think are retired numbers ain't retired. It's them boys from the 1930s and 40s that got their jerseys retired. So, you really have to be careful with these retired jerseys. That's why the Deion thing, I was wondering why there wasn't much harsher pushback. There was some pseudo pushback from the Colorado people who had won the national championship on that national championship team. I know Chad Brown. I coached Chad Brown in Seattle with the Seahawks, and he was on that national champ. And he was one of those guys that with the Deion Figures thing, which I understand he won the Jim Thorpe Award, and the guy was the first-round draft pick, and he won a national championship. And he didn't get number 2 retired. But Shador ain't even out of school. He said, but you may have to make restitution by retiring some guys pretty quick. Because these old guys in these universities that are, that are just steeped in this long, heralded tradition. Oh, we're not returning. We've got 3 numbers retired, and that's it. We're not retiring any more numbers. And then the athletic directors change, and then they may have guys in the stadium, their numbers inside the stadium, but their numbers are not retired. And so that's where the issue comes with these retired numbers.
Ned,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a whole different political
yeah.
issue. Yeah, a
And
whole
I had
different
to look
issue.
it up. I had to look it all up because I was thinking, wait a minute now, whose jerseys are retired? And then I realized that there's, especially with the Urlacher thing, I looked up the New Mexico thing, and I remember Eddie Nunez had told me this about because I was saying, why is Terrence just now getting his number, retired? Because I thought his number was being retired, no one could wear it, and that's why Danny threw those jerseys on all those kids, because there's only really three numbers that are retired at UNM. It's Bobby Santiago, Don Perkins, and Urlachers. And really, to Bobby Santiago and really Urlacher. I mean, I would say maybe Don because he was with the Cowboys and all. I get all that, but I mean, really, I mean, those are the only three retired numbers in the history of UNM football, and so those are the things that people have to realize that that's what happens, and those are the discussions that guys are having when they talk about stats and guys that deserve to have their numbers retired. And they're putting guys in the stadium that that accomplish great things, but at the same time, the retired number thing is really a tricky thing.
Yeah, no question about it. But going back to Sanders, you mentioned, now they said this too on I reported this on my sports report on 99.9 the other day. This NFL draft drew 4.3 million viewers, the highest ever, that's ever for the last couple of years. So your
That was
point,
the second day, not the first day. Yeah, first
yeah,
day.
second day. Okay, so the second day.
Second day, yeah.
So I think Shador is going. You mentioned his jersey's already one of the top sellers. He's going to get a chance to compete. There's a good chance. The fans want to see him, right? They want to see him there. I think Cleveland has been a graveyard for quarterbacks. We have to admit that. It's for a long time. I can't even remember. Watson. I think he had one good year there. Was it with the Texans? I don't know if he had a decent year.
Baker took him to the playoffs.
Oh, Baker did, and then they got rid of him.
Baker won a playoff game.
Yeah, Baker had a good year, and then
Baker was number one overall pick. Yeah.
Then he went to the Rams for a while. Then he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So I think Shador's gonna get a chance to compete there. But it was just kind of strange to watch his odyssey and go unpicked till the fifth round. But I think there's a chance. And again, you mentioned all the reasons, the entourage, maybe some of the interviews. Now, Prime Dion had leverage. He could say, "Hey, I'm not going to here or there." Back in the day when he played for Florida State, he had leverage. Shador did not have that kind of leverage, not at all. But I still think there's a chance. What's that?
Yeah, they thought he did, and everybody got a chance though. Ed. I mean, the quarterback position is not like every other position. He's going to have a chance if he's that good. We'll see if he's that good. I mean, but it's not like college. Like this guy is going to rap concerts, and he was drafted in the fifth round, talking about he's legendary. And it's like, he ain't been in that locker room yet. You wait till you get that locker room with the NFL pro guys. He's going to be legendary. Go get me some donuts and make sure my coffee is hot and I have 2 creamers in it. Okay. And make sure. And then when you pick up my breakfast during the season, you better make sure the eggs are over easy. And he's like a freshman. He's like a freshman in high school. You're going back to the freshman year. And I want to see if he can handle it because he's only played for his dad. He played for his dad in Little League. He played for his dad in high school. He played for his dad in college. Okay, now you're going to get coached by somebody other than your dad. So how do you handle that? So a lot of those things I think spooked a lot of people. And we're going to see if Shador has the skill set because the game to me is 85% mental. It's only 15% physical. Everybody's got some physical traits, physical skill. They're talented physically, but how do you handle it mentally when your daddy's not around? That's going to be the test for him.
I think that's a very good point. The other thing that they're mentioning, and Ryan said this too, he took a lot of sacks at Colorado. I don't know the offense. They mentioned his foot speed isn't. Of course, nobody's going to have foot speed like Prime did, but they mentioned that he took a lot of sacks. So I don't know what Cleveland's offensive line is going to look like, but you mentioned it, it because you coached in the pros. It's a whole different thing, man. And being coached by your dad, who made sure you were taken care of. Those are his, his baby sons, Milo and Shador, and he took care of them. He did, and so I think it's a whole different thing when you go, like you mentioned, the pros. But Prime had to have told him that.
It's different. It's different. It could help him too. It could make him even better. So, you never know. It could be worse for him or it could be better for him. No one knows, and that's what we're going to find out.
No question about it. I want to go back to your commentary about Ashton Genty and going to the Raiders. Now, he had mentioned in Sports Illustrated about a week ago or so that, they devalued the running back. You and J.J. Buck have talked about this numerous times on 610. He thinks he's going to bring back that value, bring back that value of the running back. And I think it was a good pick for the Raiders. Geno Smith, this is kind of a two-edged question here. Are you sold on him as the new quarterback for Las Vegas? And were you surprised that they traded for him?
Well, I mean, familiarity is what all coaches want when you especially when you take on a new job. You want guys that you can trust and you have your back and those kind of things. While you learn the locker room, because you don't know most of these guys. As far as the running back goes, and Gentry and these fresh legs, and he's a rookie coming in. Okay, I want to see your legs when it's November and you're in Kansas City or you're in Baltimore in December and January. That's when you can tell if you're a really good running back. I mean, they don't have UNLV or Nevada or Tarleton State. They don't have those guys on the schedule in the NFL. So you're going to be playing against some boys every week. And let's see, okay, it's not a matter of devaluing the running back. Let's see if you can get some yards in November and December in the NFL, because that's when, that's the test, because that's when, most people have to depend on their running when the weather changes. And so, everybody's good those first 4 weeks, but let's see you running in November and December in Buffalo and Chicago, and then tell me, how the running back is devalued. So it's a lot different. College guys, they're looking at Interstate 40 about November, because that's typically when their season is over with, and that's the halfway point in the NFL. I've seen guys, get that look in their eyes where they're like, "What? We're just halfway through the season? Yeah, we just played the preseason, and you have to play 7 games." And by that time, these guys are, getting ready for bowl games and going home on fall break and those kind of things. In NFL, son, we're just halfway through the season. We haven't even got to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so it's those kind of things that young rookies have to get used to. And we'll see with Shedeur. And Shedeur will get time because they probably won't play him early. And, he can come in with some fresh legs in the middle of the season and maybe do something. But he's going to probably get an opportunity. But he's a 5th-round draft pick. So if he comes in and he's a little wonky and silly, they don't have any problems cutting you either and saying goodbye. And, hey, you can wear your legendary necklace, at your dad's house.
You would think that he's got the background and the name that would fire him up, and his dad would tell me that you got something to prove now. You would think that, and you can wear like you said, all the gold chains all you want, but it's about proving it, as you mentioned, in the locker room. And when you get there, people don't care who you are, who you were, or who your dad is. It doesn't matter. You're not coming in as the number 1 pick. You're coming in as the number 5. And you had to have been humbled by that. You had to have been, I would think. So I still think he's going to get a chance. I think he's going to get a solid chance. So to prove himself, the Cleveland Browns have been starved for a quarterback. Not for that long. They got rid of, they gave up on Baker, and but they've been looking for a starting quarterback that will stay for a while, and they haven't had it for a long time. Mayfield for 3-4 years, and then they got, he moved on. So I think he's got a real chance. I really do.
And one thing that my friends get mad at me about, because they think, he's the underdog now. I said, boy, it must be really nice to be an underdog and have $8 million in the bank. He's probably got $8 to $10 million in the bank, from playing in college with the NIL deal, and his dad's a multimillionaire. And so I'm like, oh yeah, a real underdog with $10 million. These other guys, they ain't got that kind of money, and they're fighting to pay mortgages, and they got kids in school, and so you're competing against guys who are going to be really, really hungry. And so Shedeur has been, he's been sleeping on silk sheets, So we're going to see how hungry he is. We're going to see if legendary and hungry go together, because you got to really be humble, and you really have to show that you can work within the culture of this group of men that you're going to be involved in. I think culture more than talent wins games. Guys got to get along. That's the hardest part of the NFL. You got to freaking figure out how to get along with each other. in that locker room. You got leaders in there, you got guys, that's why you're going to get the donuts. That's why you're going to get those egg McMuffins during the season, for before those meetings start. And you better get the orders right. Those kind of things that, it ain't no, hey man, I ain't doing that. I got $8 million in the bank. I don't do that kind of stuff. And that ain't happening. I'm just telling you, he ain't, I've seen the baddest of the baddest, Pac-Man Joneses and the Albert Hainsworth get humbled. So, Shador ain't gonna be a problem for them guys. So I'm just telling you, it's just one of those things. I'm curious to see how he handles that, and the fact that he's only played under his dad his whole career, and coming to the NFL, he's gonna have the spotlight on him, which is great. All these quarterbacks have the spotlight on him, and I don't think that'll be as big a deal. But his talent, it's going to show. We're getting ready to see if he's good enough to play in that league.
Ned, not big Albert Hainsworth, man, not him.
Oh yeah, they humbled Albert.
Oh man,
there's guys that will humble you, man. Yeah. They will humble you as a rookie. When you're a rookie, there's some bad men that play. I played this game called football, but I didn't play what them guys are playing out there. Them guys are laying the wood to each other out there on that NFL field. And I mean, there's some guys out there that I've seen guys get it put to them in a locker room, so, it's not like, these guys are, sewing circles. These are dangerous men, who will, make sure that, hey, here's the king dog in the house, here's our house. And you're not just going to come in here and as a rookie loudmouth and try to change this house up without taking some, you're going to have to take some L's here. You're going to take some L's because there's going to be a bunch of us, so it's just one of those things. It's a part of the culture. It's no serious physical hazing or anything like that. But, if it comes to that, they're letting you know, hey, look, we could do it, gangster way, or we could do it, the easy way. Go get some donuts and go get an egg McMuffin, during the season, and we'll be all right. And I've seen the baddest of them. Pac-Man's a bad man. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I take Pac-Man in the alley fight over anybody any day. And Albert, I take him over Albert. And Albert was a bad dude. And I've seen guys humble him. So it's just that, you're going to have to buy into the culture of the team and the players. It's policed by the players. It ain't the coaches. It's the players. And, the coaches know who the leaders are. And you've got a 53-man, you've got to get through a season. And everybody, the games are tight. And so you got to trust the guys that are in there with you. And this is a part of that process of gaining that trust. And he knows, because he even mentioned it. Shador mentioned it about respecting the veterans, because I'm sure Deion told him, like, you go respect those veterans. You ain't coming in there, because Deion's reminding them, like, hey, you kind of had me on your team here. When you get there, I ain't going to be able to walk in that locker room. And Deion's not going to be able to. So we'll see what happens.
Going to be interesting for sure.
Ned, lastly, and see, I can't talk tonight. Appreciate you joining us. Lobo radio analyst and former UNM quarterback, Mr. Ned James. Was there any, I think I know the answer I'm going to give for you. Was there any team that took a player and you're like, yeah, it's a good get?
Not really. I mean, Shador going in the 5th round, that's probably the wait and see guy. I mean, it has to be him, because if you believe in analytics, or you believe in all that stuff that they evaluate and talent, because there was nobody that said he was a 5th round draft pick. And so here's a guy gets picked in the 5th round. And so everybody's got to say, you can't pick anybody else later in the draft to say, oh, well, I was expecting this guy to go in the 1st round or the 2nd round, or, there's really nobody else except him. And so we're going to find out about him. And, there'll be some surprises, this year. There's going to be some free agent surprises. There's guys that didn't even get drafted that, are going to, takes guys' jobs. And I've been on a team where a free agent guy came in and took a 2nd rounder's job, especially when you get these new staffs, like with Pete Carroll. You don't have any loyalty to the guys that are there already. So a lot of times you'll see some moves where, you're thinking, oh man, this guy, they took a free agent, took this guy who's been there 3-4 years or what have you. And so those kind of things happen. So there'll be some surprises, but right now, I don't really know any offhand that I would think that would be a surprise on making anybody's team right now. But there'll be a couple.
And you know what? I've been wanting to ask you this, and if you plead the fifth, it's all right. CBS Sunday Morning was interesting. I haven't watched it, but you've kind of, and probably not to me, have made. And I'm a big Bill Belichick guy because Ned, I love history. He is responsible with Bill Parcells for 1986 and 1990. And I do respect what he did with the Patriots, except for 2 times against Eli Manning. But and I didn't mean to make this Giant centric. I'm sorry, but I don't know if you saw the interview. It was.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay. I'll start with you here because it's getting really weird. And of all people, I never thought he would have. I don't know, been in this. And I think my theory now is, and it doesn't matter what I think at Albuquerque, New Mexico. I think she's got something on him. But what have you made of this? Because I think it's getting really weird.
Well, people got upset with Kendrick Lamar's halftime show at the Super Bowl, but let's just call Bill Belichick Drake. He's probably certified. And so I'll just leave it at that because that's my feeling. It's always been my feeling with him. With this, I could care less if he was in the NFL, but he's around our kids now, and so I think it takes on a different tone. I think the people at North Carolina are cowards. To let him walk in there like that with that young lady, I think it's kind of it's not your fault because you're young. It's us old guys' fault because we kind of giggle, laugh, giggle, and then we start speaking this illegal stuff. It's not illegal, and that's nonsense. We do have a moral and ethical obligation as old people, and we give other old people a pass, and we should not be giving them a pass. That's all I'll say about that. Drake. Certified pedophile.
See, I'm a big Kendrick guy, so
okay.
And we don't normally get political on this show, but yeah, I saw some people bitching and moaning about his halftime show, and even if the game was good, it still would have been one of the best things about it. But it was the best thing about that Sunday night. But Ned, I appreciate. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, he said that Drake was trying to sue him because of what he said about him, but. It's that whole thing with the young girls. You can say whatever you want. It ain't right. We can talk about the illegal, because my buddies get on me about it. Yeah, it ain't. I'm like, hey, sometimes things just ain't right. You can't talk. Us old people, we give other old people a pass. If Miss Crabtree was dating Danny Romero at Highlands High School, the quarterback, 17-year-old quarterback, she's 65 years old. Miss Crabtree, they would run her out of the school district. Dating a 17, 18-year-old kid on the quarterback on the high school team. He's working at the school. This is no different. He's at the university. He ain't in the NFL. He's at a university. And professors can't be sleeping with the kids. And he's there with this girl, and he's, using the university as his tool. And that's just me. And I'm just saying, as an older person, we've got to own it up. We've got to own it. And we're not owning it. We're giving them a pass. And I don't think that's right.
The New York Post reported today or yesterday, I hope it was real, but I have to look it up, but that since she started dating him, she has $8 million worth of real estate now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Ned, I had to ask you about that. I appreciate it. I've had you on for 45 minutes tonight. I don't want to waste any more.
I think it has something to do with that tattoo on her forehead that said gold digger. But I don't know.
Hey, I was in high school when Kanye rapped about that. Drive off in a Hyundai and wait for you to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Ned, I always appreciate your time. I know we didn't do a show this Tuesday night, so I wanted to get your thoughts on the draft. I always, Ned, I truly, and I mean this, I'm not just saying this on the record. I always appreciate your opinion because, you've coached at that level. I appreciate it. And, there's an episode of South Park that I got to send you about a teacher dating a 3-year-old, and that it's a different complex, and only South Park could make that joke, and you'd appreciate it because it's inverted. It's a young man, and it's an older, hot blonde female teacher. Yeah, you would appreciate it. So anyway, Ned James, I always appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having me. Great.
Thanks, Ned.
Take care, guys.
All right, appreciate it. All right, that was Ned James. Much appreciated to him. I had to ask him about Bill Belichick, Ed, and I know you didn't do much talking because I was asking some of the questions there. But I don't know. You've known Ned a lot longer than I have. Your thoughts on it?
Well, the thing about Bill Belichick, what I read today is that he's asking the university or whoever to copy his girlfriend on those emails, and I had to read that twice. Like, did I really read that? It's not a good look. And look, everybody is entitled to date who they want to date. The man is 73; she's 24. I'm again, he has a right to date who he wants. But when I look at it, and he's asking the people to copy her. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look because, there's sensitive information there that nobody needs to look at, especially someone that's not a football coach. So I kind of wonder when North Carolina is going to say something about that. That's not a good look. And the other thing is, going back to Belichick, there were several openings, and he didn't get hired for any of them. And this is a guy that's won 6 Super Bowls, widely considered one of the greatest, top 3 coaches in the NFL of all time, and he didn't get hired. And so I don't know. I found that kind of interesting to me that he can get one opening. He's at North Carolina, but again, good for him. He's dating a 24-year-old, woman. Good for him. But when you're asking the university or people to copy her on emails that could be sensitive information that she doesn't need to see, I was a little surprised about that. I really was. And I have to wonder how long that's going to last. But going back to Ned, remember, you already know this. I don't want to keep shouting it. The guy coached in the NFL, man. He said Pac-Man Jones got humbled, and Pac-Man, was one of the best athletes there was. Got in a lot of legal trouble and, ruined his career. He did. But, man, as far as talent, the guy was unbelievable. Albert Hainsworth played for the Titans, for the Redskins, I think for the 49ers for a while, or even the Browns. I can't remember, but I know he played for the Redskins. So think about what he's saying. When Shedeur Sanders, something we didn't mention, when he walks in that locker room, he's from the veterans. He's a marked guy. Like, okay, we're gonna let's make sure he knows who the boss is around here because of Deion. Because of Deion and the entourage and Primetime. Primetime was a whole different story, man. That guy was one of the most talented athletes we've ever seen in the history of sports. I never saw anybody run the bases faster than him. Not a great baseball player, couldn't hit the fastball. Admittedly, he said that. But when he got on base, I saw him run inside the park home run one time. Man, that guy had blazing speed. One of the best cornerbacks we ever saw. He covered one side of the field, and quarterbacks wouldn't even throw it. They once in a while they would throw, and he'd take it back to the house. So, but Shedeur is not Deion. That's the thing. He's not Deion. And there's going to be, I didn't think about that other part. There's going to be veterans in that locker room that can't wait to put him in his place, to Ned's point. So I think Ned, as usual, was great, knows football like nobody else I know. He really does. And I really respect his opinions. I'm glad he comes on here.
No, I appreciate he comes on here. I had to ask him about that. So, I know we've talked a lot of football, and I didn't change that. Terribly sorry. I know we talk a lot of football on here. I'm a big college football fan. I do love college basketball. The Lobos have landed a couple of good guards, and some of them are official now with JT Rock and Luke Hop. Luke Hop is a 6'6" guard. And you know what? And I'll get your thoughts on this, Ed. I didn't mean for the hard transition. Let me do this. Because I know you probably want to talk some hoop. Luke Hop and JT Rock sign, and what a name. JT Rock. Sounds like a Saturday, weekday drive time morning DJ name. I love it. J. Call and Uriah Tenenet signed with the Lobos, and then obviously they've announced Antonio Chall, Kevin Patton Jr. We've talked about that. Luke Hop is 6'6". He was a D2, like All-American. Defensive anchor, apparently. Ed, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on D2 basketball or a freshman at Iowa State, even though I did watch. But the team is being built. I would say the big thing is Dayton Albury. You read the Journal. You read Jeff all the time. You follow, and then Nick's writing for your son's writing for us. But what have you learned about these players? Not trying to put you on the spot there, but what have you learned?
You know what? In the case of Hop, a Division II guy, and remember what Coach Olin said, he wanted guys with chips on their shoulders. So in other words, when you see a Division II guy, I saw some comments on Lobo fan pages that were like, oh, he's getting guys from D2. This roster's no good, this and that. But he's getting guys that fit in his system. I read about Hopt, read about Albury, read about the Pattons, JT Rock, who's another development guy. There was some tape on Rock. He was pretty highly rated coming out. I saw some film. I'm not going to say that the competition he's playing against was out of this world. They weren't. But he could stretch. He can stretch a little bit, shoot outside. And you got some good experience at Iowa State as a freshman and, didn't get a lot of playing time, but the practice time matters. That's where you develop. So I think I was really, really excited about Albury. I really was. And I even told one guy today online, he said, oh, this is a bunch of no-namers, this and that. So I said, well, I think by signing Dayton Albury, maybe that will quiet you down a little bit because Albury's quick. He can handle the ball. When the shot clock is going down, Ryan, and you need a score, he's that guy can get gaps, kick it back out. He's exciting. He plays good defense. I think he's got an upside here at Utah State. He was there with a crowded backcourt. He got to play, averaged 8.3 points. But I think here, he's a starter right away and the man, right? But remember, this is a read and react system that Coach Olin's going to run. Read and react, space the floor, make the extra pass, hit the three, not a lot of back to the basket stuff. He doesn't run that. He's not going to be the guy. We said that, saying call shirt, call fist, call Duke, call Lobo. He's not going to be doing that. He's going to trust his players. And in a guy like Dayton Albury, I think you just got a very good athlete that's going to fit in here very, very nicely. I think and it's super quick. That was I think the best get that I've seen so far. I like the other players too. But I think to the other point, we have to give Coach Olin a chance, just like we're giving Coach Eck one. They're new coaches here. We have to give them chances and see what they can do. I'm excited what Coach Olin, and especially with Dayton Albury, that's a good signing. I think he's got 2 more spots left, so let's see what he does. But so far, I've liked what he's brought in.
Dayton Albury to be a numbers guy tonight, even though I'm not. Almost 8 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, and almost 2 assists a game last season, I believe, off the bench for Utah State. So and he shot 54% from the field. Played 28 minutes against UCLA in the in that first round debacle. They got blown out by UCLA 72-47. So no, I mean now I'm on the other side of things. I'm usually the one talking shit about UNM, and I would still do this. Even in this instance, like what do you expect? I understand it's a new day and age. I don't know what Lobo fans expect. And I hate to go down that road. This season was great, and you were one of 32 teams left, which out of 300 and whatever, hey, that's pretty damn good. The Pit is it, but it's not like they've made multiple Elite 8 runs or Final 4 runs. That was my big stink was it. And Will Weber and I were talking about this. It's a tradition. The program tradition is like they don't have any, even though I think the tradition is you sell out the Pit and the Pit is the tradition. Now I'm not, Ed, you can disagree with me there. I think I love the Pit. I think it's great, but I think Lobo fans need to pump the brakes. Especially heading into the last year, I know it's the last year of the Mountain West Conference, but I've always said, and I'm probably the polar opposite of this, I'd probably take getting, I don't want it to be a 1-bid league, but I would take winning the tournament every year in a 1-bid league and advancing every year as opposed to winning the Mountain West Conference and losing to expletive Harvard in the first round. That's just what I'm saying. I just think it's going to be time for both these programs. 2025 might not be the best. We don't know that yet. And I'm not trying to be Captain Obvious here. But I think there's some big things on the horizon going into 2026. Ed, I don't know how you feel about that.
One thing I want to say about, the basketball conference and the teams leaving, people want to see the Lobos compete in a tough conference. I know that. Now, on the flip side for football, that might, help New Mexico be a little bit more competitive in football. They're bringing Northern Illinois in, UTEP, Cal State, C. Davis, right?
UC Davis.
UC Davis for basketball, Northern Illinois for football. But I had to look at it both ways. I want to see the Lobos compete in a tough basketball conference. I understand what you're saying. I do. The other thing is if they're a one bid league, are they above Conference USA? Where are they as far as respect nationwide? Ken Palm, all the things that you and Rick and my son and Eric talk about as far as perceived nationally. Nobody watches more mid major than NEF. No one. So where are they perceived is my question as far as the conference when those teams leave in basketball. Now in football, it might help them a little bit, because you got rid of Boise, Utah State, San Diego State, and CSU. They're leaving. Will that help them in football be a little bit more competitive? I don't know. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. I want to see New Mexico compete in a tough basketball conference. I do. I don't know what this conference is going to be like. You're losing the heart and soul, honest to God. San Diego State, Boise State, Utah State, Colorado State. Those are major teams in the basketball part of it. Now, to your point, I want to see them win every game. Of course I do. But I have to be realistic and say I want them to compete against good teams. Remember the schedule that Coach Pitino had this season. Had a tough schedule. And he added length, right? And it got them. They were this close to winning that game against Michigan State. They were right in it. They didn't quit. I was proud of their effort, but they didn't get there. So to your point, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what Coach Olin built here. But I think your point about 25. Remember, I said this. Everybody wants to see a seamless baton pass where the Lobos are running and still keeping momentum. They want to just keep it going, and it may not be that way in basketball. There may be a little bit of a hitch there. Remember what the writer you had on for the San Diego Union said, that he thinks the Lobos will be good, but the Lobo fans might have to be a little bit patient. And I think they're going to have to be. You're not going to get, we have a new team, a new coach. It's a whole new system. It's going to take some time. So, I think, to your point, I want to see them, of course, win and be competitive, but I want to see them be in a competitive league. We don't know what that new league is going to look like. So, but on the flip side for football, that might help them. So a mixed bag for you.
It is. You have to remember it was 20 years ago when you couldn't walk around University Stadium at halftime to go to the bathroom. I mean, yeah. It's been done here. And I don't think people, I don't know, we repeat ourselves a lot on this show, and I don't, it's not for, I think, lack of content, although we're getting into the summer months. Football had kind of taken over for what with, the the Franchilla years and the McKay years. And it was kind of like, to me, it felt like Rocky ruled the town. And Ed, I don't know if you disagree with that.
You know what? And somebody was trying to tell me that today about they didn't remember when Rocky had a lot of fans out there. And I had to point out they had 38,000 for Rice. I remember that. 44,000 for New Mexico State. He brought in some. You show it on the opening of our football show when the fans were there. I think he remember the formula we talk about. Former Lobo coach here, beloved by the community. They loved Rocky. They did. Rocky's still lifting weights with his players. He looks like he could still play when he's coaching here. And he got those guys from UNM, from New Mexico that played. Ryan Cook, the Dontrell Moores, the Cole McCabe's, the Hank Baskets, the Ian Clarks, Frankie Lagone. He got guys from here, man, and was successful with it.
Yeah, Frankie Baca and Blake Lagone.
I'm sorry, Blake Lagone, Frankie Baca, the safety. They got guys here that Mike Mahoric, from Highland. So people didn't forget. They loved what they loved the defense, right? Rocky sold that defense, and then for a while their offense was pretty good too. So that was a special formula. And again, I keep mentioning that Bob Davie had 2 winning seasons, didn't move the meter, and they had speed to kill with Presley, Chestnut, Jordan. That was an entertaining team that nobody really went and watched. 22,000 they averaged, and never got more than that. So yes, it's been done, but Ryan, yes, it's been a long time, man. And I'm hoping that who doesn't like Coach Eck with the Lobo up? I mean, I see that, I still crack up. I don't even really know him very good, but I'm looking forward to him winning here. I want whoever it is. I wanted Coach Mendenhall to win here. He didn't want to be here, man. He didn't want to be here. Get lost, get in the win, go wherever you're at, man. He's gone. we got the guy that wants to be here. So let's see what he does.
Not to keep us too much longer because we're pushing the 2-hour mark on the show. But what I was going to ask you, Ed, this just kind of popped in my head. Have you? I was talking to Eric today about something. We were bitching. I was bitching and moaning about something. But you have to think about it. In the last, how many months is it? Eric Olin was introduced a month ago today. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So in 16, 17 months, they've announced 2 new now the program, a new athletic director, 2 new head football coaches, and a new head basketball coach. Can you ever remember the time it was like that here? I mean, I can't.
No, you know what? I can't, man. And remember, I can't. I can't remember that. And remember the return of Ryan Berryman, who's going to be a future AD, man. He is. There's no doubt in my mind. So the return of Ryan Berryman, Amy Began over there now, Fernando Lovo. It's a new sheriff in town mentality, man. Eddie Nunez, Dave Williams, God bless them. This is totally something. That's why I said this about Lovo. I don't think he ever can. Mackenzie Bishop came on and said that Steve Alford was looking forward to being back here. He was never considered. I promise you, he was never considered. Not because he's not a good coach, because Lovo wanted his own guy, man. He wanted his guy. Nothing against Coach Alford. He's in the past. Lovo's looking to the future. So he's got his team together, and they're young. They're young kids, man. They're young people, young like you, Ryan. Not kids, but they're young, and they've got different ideas. They have to deal with NILs. They have to get coaches that will deal with that. The assistant coach, Da Prato, what was his name? The guy you had on today?
Daniel Da Prato tonight.
Daniel Da Prato. He said he loves the NIL, right? What's he going to say, man? Now, that might have hurt Coach Alford, too, because Coach Alford was saying about the NIL about 2 months ago. He didn't like it, right? Didn't want nothing to do with it, and he said that. So that might have – and Da Prato's over here saying, I love it. I can't wait to deal with it. And so that's different, man. You want people that are going to deal with today's issues, not yesterday, man. The yesterday's done. It's today that they're looking at, man. And that's what Coach Fernando Lovo was looking at, and hiring Jason Eck and then hiring Eric Olin. It's a new sheriff in town, man. It's a new mentality, and I like it. I think young people come in with different ideas. Like Ned said, sometimes older guys like me and him have different ideas of what was done 20 years ago. It's not 20 years ago anymore. It's 2025, and so New Mexico has to keep up with. Let's face it, Ryan. With limited resources, they don't have the resources. I look at Western New Mexico the same way. I love Western. I'm the voice out there. They don't have the resources of a Texas A&M Kingsville or UT Permian, West Texas A&M. They don't have those resources. They don't. So New Mexico doesn't have the resources that some of the other teams in the conference do. But look at the NIL with Kurt Roth. They're doing a great job with that. They're doing a great job, and they have to keep doing that. Kurt Roth my son had a great interview with Kurt on the phone the other day and did a great job in the article. And, you have to see it on the Pitt Press. Real proud of my son. He did a lot of research for that article, man. So times are, Ryan, you mentioned, do I ever remember a time when that happened in college athletics? I don't remember a time in college athletics where every day I opened the paper, it's like, what the heck, man? What, NIL deals falling through. My son's article will tell you a lot about payouts, buyouts, the whole thing. This whole thing is upside down now. So you better get people in there like Lovo and Ryan Berryman and Coach Eck and Coach Olin that know how to deal with it, man. You better, because it's, look at Coach Eck as a general manager for football. Did we ever think we would see that? So I've never seen, as you mentioned, where all these Lobo coaches are hired and a new AD, but every day there's something different in college athletics. So get used to it.
No, I agree, and you're right about Berryman. And you know what, Ed, I'll get us out of here, but this might be a topic for another time. So I was sitting at the baseball game on Saturday and Tuesday, Friday. Excuse me. Wow, I'm just making up days. Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday, and I'm looking at the football stadium, and we know it's built in a hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm loving this staff, and I'm not here talking trash, and I'm sure a lot of people will probably bring that up now, but I'm looking at the west side of it, and it's just that like half grass, half dirt. I don't understand how that would be appealing to anybody. I know it's probably not one of the first things you're looking at. I mean, we've lived here. It's just like, it's football has been kind of whatever. But it's just not appealing. I'm not trying to big negative Nelly like I am all the time when it comes to UNM. And I'm, for those regular listens, I think you've seen, I'm kind of starstruck. I've turned a corner, but we've talked about that stadium getting it done. And I think about Symbieta and hosting the New Mexico Bowl there, and you walk in and I mean, he's got to be like, the stadium needs, either it's a new stadium or that stadium needs renovations. And obviously you've got to win. But I took that picture and I sent it to you, and I didn't bring it up, but it's just like, it's grass, like, and then there's the tower, like there's nothing. It's crazy because there's not a lot of schools that have maybe an iconic football stadium and then just a basketball stadium, or an iconic basketball arena and then a football stadium. UNM at a mid-major level has a very iconic basketball stadium, and you just look across the street and it's like, and for what it's worth, with the renovations that were done 15, 16 years ago, I mean, at least when you look at the pit, I don't want to use the word presentable. It looks cool. And you know what you're getting when you walk in the arena. I mean, some of it hasn't been changed, but I sent you that picture of the west side of the stadium, Ed, and you were kind of like, yeah, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we've kind of had this conversation before. Something needs to be done.
They got they supposedly got $11.5 million from the legislature for renovations. The place probably needs $50 to $75 million, especially with the way construction prices costs are now. What they do the pit for $60 million in 2009, that would probably be 120 or 115 million today. I bet you anything. Prices double, inflation, cost of living, things like that. So that place needs a major renovation, man. And people have mentioned, Mesa del Sol, they mentioned building a stadium out there as one of our listeners a couple of weeks ago. And there's no way they're going to build it out there. There's no way. No way. But the first thing you got to do before you build anything, before you renovate anything, you got to win the games, man. You got to win. What did Herman Edwards say? Hello. You play to win the games, man. And once you win the games, then people will start coming. If you don't win the games, if you renovate the stadium for what? For what, the 5,000 people that they announced that go there, but it's more like 3,000 or 2,000.
Yeah, they announced,
and that's sad to me, because I love the Lobos. I do. You say I'm a Lobo fan since 1970. I'm a diehard, man. I'm a diehard, so I want them to get 25,000, 30,000. And Coach Eck, let's hope he starts that tradition. And what is it about, Ryan? Changing the culture. You got to change the culture. And since Rocky Long left, they went through. We mentioned this: Coach Loxley, Coach Davey, Danny, Bronco. I think I might have missed a coach in there somewhere, but I thought it was 5 coaches, and they haven't changed the culture. They have not changed the culture, and the fans have not come back. But I'm always optimistic with Coach Eck. I'm optimistic that he's got the enthusiasm. He's out in the community. But Ned James said this. Remember what he said when I asked him last week. Ned, what does your eye tell you? Your eye for evaluating talent. They need more players. They signed an Auburn safety the other day. I don't know if you read that in the paper. That's a start. A kid that was at Auburn, didn't even play on special teams, but Auburn signed him, and he signed to play here. So that that's a start in the portal. They need more. They need tight ends. They need defensive linemen, and they need another quarterback probably. So they've got to get those players. Ned said that. So and they've got to win games, man. They've got to win, because if they don't, people are going to be like, oh man, same old Lobos. Give them a reason to hope. Give them a reason to come out to the games. You said it. I've said it. People on the show have said it. If there's you and I are going to go. I'm going to go, and I'm going to listen. I'm going to follow no matter what. But the other fans in the the city, as far as the community, they're apathetic towards Lobo football and have been apathetic for a very long time.
I talked a lot. I don't understand New Mexico United, but they win. I'll throw that out there, because winning cures all, and I'm not. Adam Dill's my friend, and he's a voice of the United. It's just a personal. I'm not here talking. I don't understand the New Mexico United. Great job marketing. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm going to go to the comments real quick. Not many tonight. I think we're hitting that summer lull. Infinite Consciousness. Let's go UNM. Ben, how you doing tonight? Coach Da Prato is the man. John Romero, I'm planning to support Lobo football at University Stadium this year, even if it's freezing cold. Only footnote, almost Fortnite, is pulling for NMSU when they meet. And that emoji. Turner and Margaret Branch had a lot to do with Urlacher's jersey number being retired. I don't know much about that story.
I'd probably agree with that. That's probably true.
Why do you think that?
Turner Branch is a big Lobo supporter with a lot of money, and I'm almost sure that he's a big supporter. He passed away about 2 years ago, so I think there was some support there for having Urlacher's number. He deserved it though. He deserved it, and Ed mentioned that, and that him and Don Perkins are the only numbers that aren't out there anymore. So yeah, I think Turner Branch, I'm sure, had something to do with that. But again, Urlacher deserved to have his number retired, but Terrence's number should not be, put back in play either. I didn't think. Terrence did a lot of great things here when he was a Lobo. But remember, a lot of politics. I used to say that about Tony Dorsett with the Cowboys. His number's out there on the field. Randy White, played for the Cowboys. His number's out there. The only numbers that are not seen with the Cowboys are Roger Staubach, number 12, Troy Aikman, number 8, and Emmitt Smith, number 22. Other numbers, Bob Lilly, number 74. Take that back. So 4 numbers are not in circulation for Dallas. But you heard what Ned said. Lawrence Taylor's number is not retired in North Carolina. And Lawrence Taylor, arguably what? You're a Giants fan, before your time, but heck, you saw him, man. I mean, the guy was, incredible player, man. One of the greatest linebackers, if not the greatest linebacker in NFL history.
He was an NFL MVP.
Oh man, I still look at that film back in the day. We're going to come after him like a bunch of crazed dogs. I still remember that, man. And oh man, even that time he hit Theismann, and he gets up, and he knew Theismann was he had broken his leg. Humility. He was a tremendous. Harry Carson, Gary Reasons, George Martin. They had some great players on that, and then Belichick,
Carl Banks,
Belichick and Parcells working together. As Belichick being the defensive coordinator and Parcells, one of my favorite NFL coaches of all time, even though I'm a Cowboys fan. One of the greatest NFL coaches I ever saw was Bill Parcells, no doubt.
I love his NFL films when he's yelling at Phil Simms, the one he's like, "You're in my ear," and Phil's out here. I don't know what I'll have to.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can't do what he did today. Oh, you told one guy, you know what, son? If you don't run that ball up in here, get your blankety blank. Man, can't do that today. You can't. But that guy pulled no punches. I really liked him a lot. I did.
No, you were talking about other players, Leonard Marshall, Jim Burt, and then Jim Burt went to the 49ers and everybody on the East Coast hated him. Boy, we really talked about, especially in the background, we talked a lot of Giants tonight, but I guess the NFL draft was warranted. North Carolina should retire Bill Belichick's girlfriend's bra size. All right. I don't have a quip about that. John, Shador has a noodle arm and lacks speed. The one thing I'm going to say is Shador does not have a noodle arm. Watch some of the tape. He's got a pretty good arm, and I think he's got good form. Again, I'm not, the X's and O's guy. I'm not Ned James, but I think that's what he's got. I think it's the running around and trying to be, I don't know, Mike Vick. He had, in 2 years, he had negative 690 yards rushing because of sacks. That's in 2 years. That's I think, there's probably a reason why he fell. And then Angelo, I wanted to get to this. Really impressed what football is doing in recruiting, as am I. Really confident in the staff. Again, if you've listened to the show, I'm going to be saying this for a long time. I'm impressed with this staff. So, Ed, do you have any final thoughts?
Ryan, I don't. And again, I'm just I'm anxious for Lobo football, and anxious to talk to Coach Eck next week to see who his Jimmy and Joe's are, the guys we can look for to make explosive plays. I'm looking forward to asking that.
No. I'm up there with you. Sorry, I'm muting myself. A couple house thing and cleaning things, and we'll get out of here. Please check our website, the Pit Press and the Pit Press Plus. Nick behind the paywall has a very good article on NIL buyouts and what how do schools stop this? Nick's much smarter than I, so he's got to figure out. He was able to talk to Kurt Roth, and then again, we're updating it with just regular news. It's free, but the Pit Press Plus is 2 month. Say that 3 times fast. Pit Press Plus is $2 a month, $25 for the year. So for a cup of coffee, you can read about NIL buyouts, and we're hoping to add more content to that. Next week, we will come to you live Tuesday and Thursday. Mike Roberts next Thursday is one of the assistant coaches for Eric Olin on the staff, played for Bobby Knight. So that should be an interesting conversation. Who else? Maybe Nick Lawrenson next week. He worked with Dayton Albury at Queens. So there's that. Continue to go to our website, thepitpressnm.com. Check it out. We will be in Las Vegas. It was announced today, and I had a good hunch. Thank God, because I booked our airfare. July 16th and 17th in Las Vegas at Circa again. I don't know, Ed, if we're going to do a show outside, but it was cool to do that. We will be there those 3 days or 2 days. We're flying out Tuesday. Bronco Mendenhall will be there. I don't know if we're going to talk to him or not. Probably should. Will it be a riveting and USU fan? Don't kill me if you're watching. I'm not attacking the school. I'm sure it'll be a real riveting interview, and I'm sure if he gets wind of me, what I said last week and this week, I don't know if he's going to join us. But we will be there. Looking forward to that. I'm hoping to talk to Spencer Danielson, Dan Mullins. Is it Dan? I always forget if it's Dan Mullen or Dan Mullins. It drives me nuts. It's Dan Mullen. I'm doing the New Mexico thing. It's not Holly Holmes. It's Holly Holm. So yeah, hoping to talk to him. Troy Calhoun will be there. Players available on Wednesday, coaches available on Thursday. We are invading Circa. It will be myself, Jacob Neff, Ed, and Nick, and it looks like Eric's going, so we can have some visual stuff. I think it's muy importante. So there's that. You got to do this for Daniel Da Prato again, because he reposted Bart Scott.
Can't wait.
It was good to have him on the show tonight. He said he was thinking about it all day, and I called him out on that. That was great. But anyway, hey, he's out recruiting, and it looked like a very nice hotel room. Appreciate Daniel Da Prato. Frank, thanks for getting him on. I don't know if you're watching. Might bug you for a tennis player next week. Much thanks to Ned James, as always. I'm going to give him a breather, but I had to have him on to talk about the draft. Ed, thank you as always for joining. I know it's a little bit later for us tonight, but thank you for joining with Ned tonight. Because I probably would have talked to Ned, but without you, I wouldn't. I don't know if Ned would be a guest on the show, but I really, really enjoy him. So
no problem. He's a great guy.
Yep. All right. Ed Nunez, Nick Nunez, Eric Malton, Jacob Neff. My name is Ryan Tamori, and as I always say, have a good weekend. Be safe. I guess I'm gloating my birthday, but we'll be coming to you next week for May 6th, which is the day that Albuquerque, New Mexico was graced with my presence, for good or bad. Appreciate everybody watching as always, trying to give you more content. But everybody have a great weekend, and don't do anything that I would do. Have a good one.